Teste, teste, teste. Teste, teste, teste. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to Deep Industrial Techno Transmission 05. We're going to do a little bit different in this episode. It's going to be a bit different from the last episodes. It's not going to be a workflow of me making music. It's more going to be an explanation of our last episode, because last episode we finished on a track. We almost finished the track. I finished it off stream, and I'm going to now give some tips on how to approach everything, from beginner tips to arrangement tips to whatever. Okay, I'm going to use this episode to be more educational type. Okay, I would like to begin by giving you 10 Ableton tips for beginners, in case you are an Ableton beginner, as everyone once was. Okay, as any software, you need to learn it. Okay, tip number 1 that really helped me level up my game is just renaming and coloring tracks. I know this sounds a bit simple, but it helps a lot. Okay, because once you have everything organized, the creative stuff can just flow. Okay, so as you can see, I have everything organized by color. Very simple. I use black for lows and drums usually. Okay, red is for leads, white I use for amps, and yellow I use for perks. I also rename them, and this helps you. Why? Because you won't spend endless time just searching for or understanding, wait, what is this again? It helps. It just goes with the flow. It helps the creative process. Okay, and that goes to tip number 2 is group your stuff. Okay, grouping your stuff allows you just to collapse everything and keep everything organized. Okay, grouping everything also helps in the mixing phase, because then you can process everything together. Okay, in here, for example, I have 2 kick layers and I'm processing them the same way. Okay. Tip number 3: use utility for gain. Never use the mixer. Okay, never use the mixer. Using the mixer, okay, let me just redo those 10 Ableton tips that I wanted to do and explain them, how to actually do them. Okay, so tip number 1 is to rename and color tracks. You can rename them but just by clicking on top of them and click rename, or Control or Command R, and just rename them. Why renaming your tracks is important? You know what each track is. You won't spend time just endlessly searching for something. It keeps you organized and it keeps the creative process simpler. If everything's organized, you can focus your energy on being creative. If you want to change your color, you can just right click, okay, and just choose the color. I use this method. It helps me just to stay focused and use my energy on the creative process and leave the organization for the organization. Okay, so as you can see, I use black for my low end, I use red for my leads, and I use white for my amps, and this just keeps me organized and it helps with the creative flow. Okay, and that leads me to tip number 2, which is group everything. Grouping everything by groups that make sense will help you just, again, keep everything organized, and then you can collapse everything and it's easier to see things, and also you can then process everything together, which kind of glues the sounds together. If you saturate them in the same way or compress them in the same way, it just helps gluing everything and sounds better. Okay, for tip number 3, this is an important one. Never use the fader of the mixer, which as you can see here, for automations. I'll explain why. Because let's say I want to automate something. Let's say I want to automate this volume, the volume of the close heads. Let's say I want to make it come slower in volume, so I right click on the volume here, show automation in new lane, and I just, okay, I want the volume to go here to minus infinity and disappear here. But what happens is now this automation will be in the mixer, and now for you to come here and mix everything in different levels, you would have to, because if you move the mixer here, the automation disappears, and if you want the automation to reappear again, you have to click here. But why is that bad? Because that is bad because in the end, after the automations, if you want to remix everything, the loudest phase of your track, you lost that initial mixing you want, right? So instead, what you want to use is put on utility, for example, like I did here, okay? And just use that utility to use the gain. And I'm going to show it here. For example, in this, I used it here. Right click, show automation. Okay, it's already here. As you can see, just using the utility gain as a volume automation is way much better, because then you're able to mix everything with the mixer as it should be. Okay. Okay. Tip number 5 is, in case you don't know music theory, right? Many people don't know music theory, and that's completely fine, because Ableton is pretty simple to use for people that don't actually understand anything about music theory. I'm not the best of music theory, so let's say I want to make a track in G minor. I usually make my tracks in G minor. It has an explanation, not for this stream though. So you come here, top corner, and you press G minor, and then all the notes that are in that scale will show up as purple, as you can see. And you can even just press scale here, and only the notes of the scale will appear. So that's very helpful if you want to make a track and have scenes play in a certain scale. Just do this, and it's very simple. Okay. Tip number 6. This is also a very, very important one. Let me see if I can demonstrate it here. Yes. Okay. Remove. I cannot stress enough. Remove the mud from everything. What do I mean mud? Mud in the music realm is usually what's around 100 to 250, around those areas. Okay. You do not want frequencies of certain sounds to exist if you do not need them. For example, when you're using percussion like hats, close hats, let's use them. Let's hear them again. You just want that high end from the hats. You do not need what's below, okay, behind. As you can see, it has information. It even has information here. But this is not helping your track. It's not helping your mix. It's only making it worse. So you just use the section that you want. Most elements of your track, you're going to at least high pass them to around 150. At least. But in this case, I just want to hear, because it has a bit of character here, but we're not going to be able to listen to this while the leads are playing. So there's no point in having that, okay? So in case you don't know how to do this, just grab a UQ8 or an auto filter. Just go here to the first nodule, select the high pass filter. You can select the high pass filter with the less sharpness on the curve, or the sharper one. Depends on your taste, okay? I prefer to use the slower one, because it keeps more of that character around the 1K. Okay. So, tip number 7, also a very important one. As you can see, all the tips are important. Is do something that I actually didn't do in this one, or maybe I did but I already removed it. I probably used it. Is use reference tracks. Reference tracks is very important if you want to check your mix, okay? Because it doesn't really, in the end, it doesn't really matter what is your sound system. If you have really good monitors, a really good headset, if you know your sound system, you just need a reference track. That's it. Reference track and looking at graphs and EQs, and also is it called the spectrum? The spectrum is also a very good tool. It's basically in EQ, but you cannot alter the frequencies. It's more detailed, and you can see the frequency graph. Using reference tracks will allow you to track your mix and see how does it sound. So you choose a track that you think it resembles your track in terms of frequency range, but also like the style, and so you have that to go back to and have that reference. So for example, I can just drag a track here. How do you add this? I already have this place. You just click here, add folder, okay, and then you choose a location of your computer, and then you have that in the places, and you can always quickly click there, drag your reference track, and bow, and there you have it. And then you just turn it off. I advise you to, if you make your mix for -60 dBs, I advise you to put this around -6 or even a little bit lower, so it's just the same loudness of your track, because you don't want that loudness to trick you, okay? So this leads me to tip number 8. This is not really a tip, it's more like an advice, and it's going to depend a lot on your workflow, okay? So Ableton, in my opinion, is the king of DAWs, so far as I know. The ones I tried, I only tried 3. I mean 4 if you count Audacity, but Audacity is very simple. So Ableton has 2 views, okay? You have the session view, which is the current view we are, and the arrangement view, which is this view. Why is this important? Because you can separate the way you think. I use the session view to sound design, to make the sounds and construct what I think is going to be my whole band. And then I use the arrangement view to make the story, okay? To make my automations, etc. It's just a way to divide the process of music production. So here I'm just constructing the loop, and then when I feel that I have the loop finished, I can just go to the arrangement. It doesn't mean that I won't add samples or other sounds later. It might happen, but the main bulk of the track is done, and then I can move to the arrangement. Okay, one very important tip as well is tip number 9, which is always remember to collect all and save. So you go here to File, and you press Collect all and save. This is very important. Why? I'm sure that you already opened up a project and there were some media files missing, and like, what the hell? Why? Because you changed the directory of the sample, or you changed the project from place, and so Ableton won't know where that sample is, okay? So you don't waste hours and hours, because I already wasted hours of my life sometimes because I didn't collect all and save. I make this a habit and just press collect all and save, and bam, bam. And then you're sure that you'll have all the samples in your project, right? This is very important. And so, okay, it's saved, okay. And that leads me to tip number 10, which is make your own presets. What is presets? Is something that you always go back to. It can be an instrument preset, it can be an FX preset. I'm going to show you here, for example, I have some FX chains that I've done that I know that work for me, okay? Some effect chains that I can just drag them. It doesn't mean that I won't change them after, okay? For example, I have this one here, so we have tension FX here, I think. Yes, tension FX. So I just drag it, I know it works, and then I'll make some changes for that specific project. Something that, some stuff that I already use that I will always go back to, and this way you also create your own unique sound, okay? So I left you some tips. I hope that those tips were helpful. I think at least I didn't know a lot of this when I began producing on Ableton, so I think it's very important for when picking up new software, it's also always important to understand the software, understanding tips, understanding the way you can be more efficient with the software. One quick extra tip is, if you don't know what stuff means, just click this on the left bottom corner, just click this Y button, and this will basically tell you everything about everything. Okay, just experiment, just like, what is this, it will tell you. And sometimes it is good because you won't know. I don't even know everything, the potential that Ableton has. It's a very complex software, obviously. So if you don't know anything, if you don't know something, just put your cursor above something that you want to know about, and it will tell you. It has some information, okay? So it's very helpful. So let's talk again about the session view and the arrangement view. So as I said, Ableton has this, which in my opinion beats the other DAWs, which is the session view and the arrangement view, which allows you to separate and make that distinct separation between constructing the loop and constructing the story and your music. Okay, so this allows me to just come here, work on my stuff. Okay, I have a low end. Do I like this low end? Okay, let's move on to my next element, whatever that might be. So let's check my leads. Do I like my leads? Do I like my ambience? Do I like my perks? And with that, we're going to be able to construct a story. So use the session view and the arrangement view for your advantage, because it is something that I don't think another DAW has. I might be mistaken. If I'm mistaken, just correct me. Not that I know, the DAWs that I know don't have this. Okay, so just clicking tab, by the way, if you don't know, or you can top right corner, you can always go to the arrangement view or the session view, or just click tab. So use this to your advantage. Okay, so now it's the time where I'm going to show you the track that we started the last episode, but we didn't finish. So let's just hear it from the start to finish, and I'm going to explain you my thought process and some basic tips on arrangements. Okay, because this track is finished, I'm going to show you the automations I did, the way I processed my thoughts, and essentially how to go from a loop to a track. Okay, so let's hear it. So as you can see, I'm starting very slow with just a kick, my low end, which is a kick, and then sub. Okay, sub that I process with corpus, which is something that I already showed previous streams. Okay, start with the low end. I start with one of the leads, because I made 3 layers of leads with the Behringer MK. Okay, around 17th bar, I just put a voice sample. I chopped the full voice sample and put it around the whole track. Basically just kind of telling a story here. Okay, and it adds that ear candy element to the track and keeps the listener engaged. So using ear candies like this, whatever that might be, textures, voices, is good, so the listener stays captivated. Okay. So here, I clearly added a lot of things, right? That's moment 1, energy increase. Let's just type this and see what did I do. So I did something that I like to do when before adding some percussion. I just like to add something to announce what's coming. having some element that's different from the rest that's playing makes the listener, whoa, something's coming. So, and I also removed the low end, so it's more pronounced, the break, there's clearly something different here. Okay, see, just 2 bars of removing the kicks. The sub stays, so it still has the body. Okay. And it also allows for the voice to be more pronounced. Okay, so you hear the voice more clearly without the kick. What's happening here? The rights to give a lot of energy to the track, just to keep the track going. And I'm opening up a filter on the close heads. What is this doing? Opening up filters when you hear higher frequencies of a certain sound, you have the feeling that something is approaching you. That's what I'm trying to do with the close heads. Okay. Keep hearing it. And I also added another layer. To a return track just to create some tension. Now here I go back to a lower energy kinda, but still driving the track forward. Lower energy, but still driving the track forward, because I have that quarter hat, that offbeat hi-hat, open hi-hats. I replaced it with the ride, so the ride has more energy because it's more constant, and it's also playing on offbeat and onbeat, as you can see. But the close hat will have less energy, but we'll keep the track going, and we already opened up the filter of the closed hat. And I'm just adding more ambience. I added this, which is just an ambience I did with some movement using the auto pen, which is a nice tip I can give you, using the auto pen for some movement. Introduced this lead with no fear because I like the way it sounds, I like the way it's in the mix, so I'm not afraid of just throwing it into the mix and using the break of the kick to introduce it. Give that forward push with this lead. As you can see here, we have a part of that voice sample, and we have a little bit of a break of tension and energy. This just this just gives some movement and makes your track not being flat. That's one mistake I see most of my students make when they make a track, is they make their energy. Let's just make an automation here so I can explain you. Let's put the utility here. Okay. So basically, what most people do is this: they introduce, let's say, it's introduced, they make the energy, and they just keep making the energy, and the whole track is just here. It doesn't go up and down in energy. Basically, what I did in this, let's see, I increased the energy here, so the energy is kind of flat there. So the energy is kind of flat, and here, boom, we see an increase, and it keeps increasing. And it keeps increasing here, because the add is opening, and we're also adding another elements. And then we just reduce a bit the energy, maybe to the same energy it started here, maybe a bit lower. And then we are going to increase more the energy again, with more elements. And then, at the break, we do this. So we kind of reset the energy levels of the track and prepare. And this is a type of construction you can make. Okay, so energy, break, give it more energy, complete break of tension, and then another peak of energy, and keep that. Let's listen how the energy unfolds, okay? This third layer, which is something that I'm opening up the filter very slowly, as you can see, there's going to be a very big peak here of energy. And this is basically just, this layer is what for me is what's making the track building up energy to this point, which is, I think, the peak of energy of the track, which is clearly the peak of energy of the track. So opening up the filter to that big climax, we can just call this climax. Okay, so let's hear. Goes on for a lot of bars, just this loop. Okay, I'm not afraid of just keeping it, because I already have movements here. Okay, everything has movement, so I'm not afraid of keeping this loop for how many bars it is, I don't even know, because I already have movement inserted individually in each track. Okay, with auto filters, with LFOs, etc. Okay, so I'm not afraid of just making that loop constant, because thinking also in a DJ perspective, I just want the person that's playing my track, is playing this track, just keeps that energy until it starts to mix up the other track. Okay, so it doesn't lose the energy, so keeps the energy going, and then clearly have a point where the energy is going to fade. Of energy, right? So energy just fades completely with the rides, and the lead that was giving the energy starts to close, leading up to the closing of the energy of the track, okay? But we still have that layer with the kick going. As you probably noticed, you have two different layers, okay? This just gives a little bit more rhythm, okay? So this was the track. The track is already finished. It was just one of the processes. I'm going to show you the end result. And now I'm going to show you another project just to explain to you how you can use return tracks to your advantage. Okay. So this project is completely in the finished state, and I'm also going to give you some tips here. So what one good etiquette to do in the end of when everything's finished, okay, is just export all your stems into audio. So you just come here, press export audio / video, okay. You come here, render track, and you select all individual tracks, okay. You select the length of your project, you make it 24 bit depth, okay, so you don't lose any information on the audio, and then you select no dither. You don't need dither when you're exporting in 24. You only need dither when you're exporting from 24 to 16 bits, okay, and you usually want triangular, okay. I'm not going to explain what dither is. It's basically electronic noise to hide imperfections when something is reduced from 24 bits to 16 bits. Okay. Okay. So now back to the point where I'm going to explain you how you can use return tags to your advantage. Okay. So this project is already finished and it's already exported everything in audio. Exporting everything in audio also helps you just commit to the track and just go forward with the track, but always save it with a different name, okay, if you want to go back to something else. So everything from 18 to here is the new stuff, okay. Let's hear the track. It's a very driving, very powerful track. So we have a lead, really important lead, which is this. But I forgot because I already exported everything, and the return tracks, I exported the return tracks as audio, and the return tracks are inside this group, okay. Which is here. This is the reverb. This is the delay. Why do this? Why not just keep the return tracks? Because of this, because then I can put them all in the same group, process them all in the same way, and this way it just glues the sound together. And when you're processing everything the same way, it blends everything. It feels everything this is in the same universe, okay. So how did I do this? I had return tracks, which they are still here. I'm going to show you. I use this as a second layer. So let me check where this is the lead audio, okay. And this is going to be a second layer I use in the track. You need to listen later, okay? And everything is here, all with the proper name, okay? So lead audio returns second. Yeah, that's the second layer, okay? Okay, so everything that has return on the name it was originally a return track, okay? This is another lead that I recorded live. This is the second layer, this is the reverb, and this is delay. So I exported everything to audio, and then I put them again in the same group. So it gives that a bit of glue, and everything just feels in the same universe, okay? It's better. It's here. this is like an extra tip I can give you, is using return tracks is very good because it allows you to create different sounds with your original sounds, and everything will feel like it's in the same place, in the same room, in the same universe, whatever you want to call it. Because sometimes you're just like searching for stuff to make the music, and the answer is right on your track, right on your original beat. You don't need any more elements. You just need to process them in different ways. Okay. So in the next transmission, we're going to start some new a new AP, probably a new track, and I'm going to explain process by process how to do this. Okay, so this was just me showing you some stuff and giving you some tips, because last episode we didn't finish that track. So the next episode we're going to pick everything from the start, make a new track from the beginning, and I'm just going to apply all the tips I gave you in this transmission that I think are really helpful, and I think you can learn a lot, especially with the return tracks tricks I'm going to show you in the next transmission. Okay, thank you for coming. I know this was a short transmission, a bit different, was more education style, but I hope that you